Yo, what's up, chefs? It's Vinny, and welcome to my in-depth Lightning Spear Huntress guide. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get this incredibly satisfying build up and running, easily capable of clearing T15 maps and endgame content with no uniques required. And as per usual, I've got a full trade links Google document set up for you guys, where the max price of every item is capped at 5 Exalted Orbs, except for the spear, gloves, and chest piece, which are all capped at 10. And of course, we also have the max roll and POE planner to go along with that as well. Now, before we hop into the meat and potatoes of the guide, I do just want to address one common concern with the build up front. And yes, not only does this build have insane clear speed, but it can also do incredible single target DPS as well. I've already killed Zarok with a weaker version of this setup, and in just a moment, you'll see me just fold this T15 map boss in a couple of seconds. Finally, this is going to be a bit more of an end-game focused guide, and that's not to say that it won't help you if you're still in the campaign or have yet to even create a Huntress, but if you want more specific information or written planners specifically for the leveling process, then I do have 2 other guides up on my channel already from the first few days of the league, where I go into a lot more detail on what worked really well for me during the leveling process and early maps. First things first, before hopping into the other topics of the video, I do just want to give a brief TLDR of how the build actually works and what's causing the massive screen-wide explosions. Also, these topics should roughly mimic the chapters of the YouTube video, so if you do just want to skip around to something you're more interested in, feel free. The super simple version of what really makes this build work is 1, you're going to need to have Volt and Fork socketed into your Lightning Spear, and then beyond that, you just need a consistent generation of Frenzy Charges. There are 4 main ways to generate Frenzy Charges for this build, but thankfully 3 of them require a unique, 1 doesn't, and the one that doesn't is likely actually the best version of the build. So that's what we're going to focus on today because everyone can get it up and running, and it's probably the best. So, as for generating Frenzy Charges with no uniques, the way we're going to do it is by putting Neural Overload and Electrocute into our Herald of Thunder. What this is going to do is whenever you open up a map or whatever you like to do, the first lightning spear you throw in the map is going to be non-frenzy charged, so you're going to have no frenzy charges, just throw a regular one. That's going to then end up shocking some enemies, proccing your Herald of Thunder, which is then in turn going to proc Neural Overload and electrocute them, and this is going to give you a frenzy charge. The other way you can also get a frenzy charge with this method is if you decide to use a Rhoa, which is something I am going to recommend, even though it's not mandatory. But if you do use a Rhoa, then while you're running around the map, you can use Sniper's Mark on every pack you throw a Lightning Spear at. Doesn't matter which mob you use Sniper's Mark on, because the projectiles are going to bounce all around, and one of the projectiles is going to hit and kill that mob. When it does, it's likely going to trigger your Sniper's Mark, giving you an additional frenzy charge. So when you combine these 2 things together, Herald of Thunder electrocuting with combat frenzy, and you also using Sniper's Mark every time you throw a spear, you're going to end up having a surplus of frenzy charges, and you will never, aside from the first spear you throw, you should practically never throw another spear in the map that doesn't have a frenzy charge. Now I'm super quickly just going to jump back to Volt and Fork and give the super simple TLDR of why these make Lightning Spear so strong. Long story short, Lightning Spear cannot chain, fork, pierce, return. It can't do any of those things, as you can see right here. But the 7 lightning bolts, or 9 lightning bolts, if you get your plus 20% quality, which you should, the 9 lightning bolts, or Zappy Boys, those can chain and fork. So of course, Volt is adding 3 additional chains, and Fork is adding a fork for at least the first set of Zappy Boys that go out. And once you have 20% quality, 1 frenzy charged lightning spear is resulting in somewhere around 200 projectiles. I don't know the exact number, but it's at least 200 plus based on the napkin math that I've done while playing. So, now that you have a general understanding of the key aspects that actually make the build work, I'm just going to do a little rapid fire deep dive on the skills in their entirety. We'll start off with Infused Weapon. Quick note here, I'm not going to recommend you get Infused Weapon until your 4th set of Ascendancy points, so either from killing Zarok or Trial Master, and if you don't have it yet, that is perfectly okay. The build works just fine without it. For the support gems though, we're using Concentrated Effect, Magnified Effect, Lightning Exposure, and Blind, so this is more of a supportive skill for us at this point. I've tested it on T15 map bosses. It has enough damage to shock them, therefore it can apply the Lightning Exposure. And I'll re-update this with Pinnacle bosses to make sure it does, and if not, when you get the free 5th slot from getting level 90, or the 5th socket from getting level 90, you can socket Conduction if you need to, just to give you a little bit of extra help to actually shock bosses with this skill. After that, we have Blind. Blind is quite important. It causes the enemy to have 20% less evasion rating, less being the counterpart of more. So this is an impactful word. It's a lot of evasion rating that they're losing, and of course their evasion rating plays into how much excess chance to hit you have, which is in turn giving you critical strike chance from this Ascendancy node. Moving on from that, we have Lightning Spear. For this, we're using Longshot, Bullseye, and then of course Fork and Volt. The reasoning behind Longshot and Bullseye, and ultimately a lot of these support gems, can kind of be mix-matched between these top 3 skills, but the reasoning here, and rest assured I've tested every combination under the sun, but this is the one I keep coming back to. I'll update you if anything changes. I'll keep an updated POB planner link in the pinned comment of the video. I'll update it on stream every day. If you want to come back and see if I made any changes, you can do that there. Right now it is Longshot and Bullseye. The idea here is Lightning Spear. It's spreading across your screen. It's killing things off screen, so they're going to be very far away. Therefore, you're getting a lot of benefit from Longshot, and the increased accuracy is going to help your crit chance for the enemies that are quite far away. For Stormlance, we have Primal Armament, Lightning Infusion, Blindside, and Martial Tempo. Nothing super complex here, just a bunch of high damage support gems. Blindside, of course, works in combination with Blind, giving us that 15% more critical damage bonus and critical chance. And then also Martial Tempo. Prior to getting 20% quality on your Stormlance, you could replace Martial Tempo with Scattershot because you only have 3 Stormlances you can throw. But once you get 20% quality, it allows you to throw 4. And at that point, you should use Martial Tempo because Scattershot throws 3 and it just makes it wonky. Following that, we have Explosive Spear. Full transparency, I don't really use this in my rotation anymore. Once I got Infused Weapon, it's just not necessary anymore. But prior to getting Infused Weapon, and if you're like struggling with the whole Sniper's Mark rotation on bosses, Explosive Spear is a good backup. This is going to allow you to naturally detonate your Stormlances. You just throw a couple Stormlances at the boss right before they walk out, or right before they're attackable. And then as soon as they're attackable, drop an Explosive Spear. It'll blow up the Stormlances and do a lot of damage. And for that, we have Overabundance and Expedite. It just makes it a little bit easier to use. Sniper's Mark, we're running Inspiration and Arcane Tempo. This is going to lower the cost and increase the cast speed. This is particularly useful when you start using it in maps to clear trash as well and get extra frenzy charges. Having the extra cast speed is just quite nice. After that, we're going to skip the spirit skills for just a moment, come down to Thunder Sleep and Disengage. I do not use these in the rotation anymore either. But for the people that don't have access to Rhoa mount because they don't have an extra 30 spirit yet on their amulet or chest piece, I would recommend you still use these because they give you a lot of extra speed. I do actually still have them, or I still have both of them in my skill gem tab. I don't ever use Disengage at this point, but Thunder Sleep, I like to keep it here in the back pocket. For bosses, because I'm going to recommend, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but you actually shouldn't be on your mount when you're doing bosses. You should use either a Tame Beast or some other spirit skill, because the Rhoa mount is like a negative thing for you for boss fights. So for certain boss fights, having a movement skill can always help. Easy example is Zarok when he does the time stop thing and you have to walk around and grab the hourglasses. Having access to something like Thunder Sleep is very, very helpful here. And then Disengage, like I said, I don't use this anymore. I still have it in my skill gem tab for who knows why. And that's going to be all the skills. So after that, we're going to go ahead and touch on the spirit skills. And this build actually has a lot of different options for spirit skills once you get more than 100 spirit. I think the mandatory ones, though, are going to be Combat Frenzy, Herald of Thunder, and then Precision as well in one of those two gems. If you only have 100 spirit still, so you don't have any extra spirit coming from your amulet or your chest piece, I'm going to recommend you go with Wind Dancer for your remaining 30 spirit. That's probably going to be the best combo you have access to at that time. Once you get more spirit, though, and particularly 130 or more, at that point you kind of have two main options, at least from my perspective. There are probably more, but these are the two that I like, and it's to either go with Tame Beast or the Rhoa mount. So the one that I prefer is the Rhoa mount. For mapping, you run around on the Rhoa mount. The benefits of the Rhoa mount, because I know a lot of people are confused, it doesn't increase your movement speed, it doesn't slow you down, it doesn't speed you up, it doesn't do anything. It matches your movement speed. As you can see, I have 40.1. Whenever I get off the mount, I'm still at 40.1. But what it does do is it prevents you from slowing down whenever you use your skills. So you can run around at full speed the entire time, and this is particularly valuable for Sniper's Mark. When you're clearing packs, you can run around, Sniper's Mark, Lightning Spear, Sniper's Mark, Lightning Spear. This gives you an infinite chain of frenzy charges, as we talked about in the intro, or the TLDR of how the build works. Beyond that, the Rhoa also basically makes you stun immune. When you're riding the Rhoa, you can't be light stunned. All damage you take contributes to your heavy stun bar, which I'll actually move my camera really quick. Your heavy stun bar is right down here above your flasks. So damage you take is going to build this bar up. It's the same thing that happens when you hold up your shield and people are hitting your shield. If it gets full, you're going to get stunned for 3 seconds. You will probably die. The way you counteract this, though, is if it starts to fill up, all you do is dodge roll off your mount, and you just like finish the fight normally. You know, the trash back, the magic monsters, rare monsters, whatever. You fight them normally, and then after they're done, you hop back on your Rhoa, and particularly right when you dodge roll off, the stun bar will instantly go all the way back down. So as soon as the enemies are dead, you're good to hop back on your Rhoa. You might have to do this once or twice during each map at most, but this is going to make you effectively stun immune, and getting stunned in the end game is very prolific right now. It happens a lot, and it will cause you to die, so it's a very nice benefit to using the Rhoa. Alternatively, if you don't like the playstyle of the Rhoa, I think the other good option would be to use a Tame Beast, particularly one with a haste aura and some other good modifiers. I don't have a super good one right now, I just have one with haste aura because I quite like the Rhoa. But for bosses currently, like I said, you don't want to use the Rhoa for bosses. So if it is going to be a hard boss like a Pinnacle or something like that, I will turn off my Rhoa and I will turn my companion on. And then that way I get the haste aura for extra movement speed and attack speed. I have 50% movement speed, so it's very easy for me to interact and deal with boss mechanics. I get extra attack speed, so my Storm Lance is coming out at Mach 5. And yeah, it feels quite good. And of course, if you want, you have the option to just not use the Rhoa mount and just run around with the Tame Beast, even for the map, and you should be using Disengage and Thunderous Sleep if you're doing that for extra mobility. Up next, I'm just going to briefly cover the passive tree as well as the Ascendancy choices. Starting off with the Ascendancy, while you're leveling up, your first choice should either be Critical Strike or Predatory Instinct. If you feel like you're particularly struggling on bosses, which bosses in the campaign are quite difficult right now, so if that is your weak point, then you should go Predatory Instinct, and if not, then you should go Critical Strike. Whichever one you go first, just go the other one second. For your third choice, you should go Penetrate, and you should get this around level 70 to 75. At that point, you should really immediately try and get a new spear that has flat accuracy rating on it. The way this works is 25% of the accuracy rating gets converted to flat physical damage. So if you had a spear with 600 accuracy, which is possible by the way, that would be giving you 150 extra flat physical damage, which is unbelievably insane. So this node is extremely good. Accuracy is the best. It immediately makes accuracy the best stat on your weapon. And then finally, for your fourth choice, you're going to go with Elemental Infusion. And ultimately, this becomes kind of a supportive skill for us. As you saw in the skill gem section, this is how we apply blind, lightning exposure, things like that. It's not a huge damage portion, or it's not a huge portion of our damage, but it doesn't hurt. Moving on to the passive tree, and honestly, there's a lot of different options here for how you could set this up, and most of them would probably end up being good. I have tried a ton of different variations, and it seems like most people are still experimenting, trying to figure out what they think is best. So with that being said, don't feel like you need to mirror my passive tree exactly one to one, but just to give you an idea of kind of what I was focusing on, my primary goal was just to get as much, with my most recent iteration anyways, was to get as much movement speed as possible without compromising my damage or defensive layers, as much as possible as well. So of course we got 3% movement speed here, 4% here, 3% here, 2% here, another 3% here. I've got my eyes on 4% here and maybe even 3% here. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to work all of that in. But like I said, there's a lot of good options here. And really it depends on what you're lacking. So if you feel like you have a lack of damage, or if you're low on the damage department, feel free to drop blur and you could go for something like this. Versatile Arms is a really high damage node. I was running this before, but now that I feel like I have a surplus of damage, I don't feel like I need it anymore. Another good example is Tainted Strike will provide you a lot of DPS. Pinpoint Shot is another good option, and there's a multitude of other good options here, but the current state of the end game kind of feels like, particularly with this build, that you tend to have a surplus of damage, but also the enemy monsters are just doing a shit ton of damage right now, and they're moving extremely fast. So that's why I kind of invested really heavy into movement speed and even into some extra defense as well. Movement speed accomplishes a lot for me, increases my efficiency, and increases my survivability, so seems like a no-brainer. It's probably one of the best stats in the game. Outside of that, we're just getting a ton of crit chance, crit damage. That's the number one way to scale your damage on the passive tree with this build. So we've got this cluster, this cluster, this cluster. We're eventually going to get this node. And then everything else should be pretty self-explanatory. It's just the good bread and butter stuff. This new little cluster right here is quite good. Cooked. You do lose some defense, but you get a lot of extra damage from it, so it's quite good. And outside of that, the only other thing I'll mention really quick is that we are also getting 30% lightning penetration from these three nodes. And then in combination with lightning exposure, that's going to be 50% lightning penetration in total. So for most bosses, map mods, everything like that, you're going to be covered. For super late end game pinnacles, we'll probably need to pick up a little bit more lightning pen, but we don't need that right now. And yeah, on top of that, you also get critical hit chance for lightning exposure, so that's even better. Following that, we're going to go ahead and go over the gear, and I do just want to bring attention really quickly again to the trade link document that I've got set up. If you want specific information on like all of the possible good stats for items, I recommend you come here. You can open the link. It's going to bring you to the trade site. Then the best thing you can do is open the filter, and you can literally just see for every single weapon, or not every single weapon, every single item, I've got it set up for you. These are all of the possible good stats for our build that can roll on the item. I've got them all weighted out properly. So realistically, the filters are going to take care of you 100%. You don't need to worry about it too much, but we are still going to go over them anyways. For the weapon, the number one stat here is going to be accuracy rating. At endgame, like once you get the penetrate ascendancy node, do not buy a spear without accuracy rating. It is like the most important stat on the weapon, and it kind of make or breaks the build, to be honest. Beyond that, the other good stats for your prefixes are going to be flat physical damage, percent physical damage, percent phys, flat accuracy hybrid is another really good one. And the best three would probably be percent phys, accuracy hybrid, and then accuracy, but those are obviously going to be expensive. For suffixes, you're looking for crit damage bonus, crit chance, attack speed, level of projectile skills if you can afford the mana, and that's pretty much it. Dexterity is okay if you need it, but that's not really preferred for your weapon. Moving on to your gloves, the best stats here are going to be obviously, once again, look at the trade filter, but you're looking for flat damage, so that's going to be physical, cold, or lightning are your preferred. Fire helps, doesn't hurt, but it's not quite as good as the other three. And then, of course, max life is very good for this build. We're not doing a super high energy shield version yet. I think that may be coming later down the road, but currently, and I don't think we'll ever go chaos inoculation though, so max life is probably always going to be a good stat for this build. And then for your suffixes, you're looking for crit damage bonus is the number one for damage, and then obviously resistances is good, attack speed is okay, but honestly attack speed isn't really that important for this build because we just don't attack that often. Rarity of items found is great, and then of course resistances, all that good stuff. High evasion, high energy shield helps, but I would personally rather have 2 flat damage rolls and max life than high evasion and energy shield, but that's, to each their own there. Moving on to the belt. My belt kind of sucks, but generally speaking, and I have a trade filter set up for something that's going to find you a better one, and I got this really early into the league, so there weren't a lot of options at that time. But generally, it's the same as most builds. You want high resistance, max life, charm slots if you can get it, which they do seem to be more common with charm slots this league, and with an extra charm slot, you can do a freeze charm and a stun charm, which is quite nice. To be fair, once you get on the Rhoa, the stun charm probably doesn't make much of a difference, so we might swap that out for something. But, pretty simple for the belt. For the boots, obviously movement speed, resistances, high evasion, energy shield. I think evasion ES hybrid for your boots is going to be the way to go. Ideally, same thing for your gloves, so something to just keep in mind there. Attributes help, nothing super crazy. Your chest piece, right now, I'm going for a full evasion chest piece because I do plan to make use of bestial skin very soon, and I think this is the correct node to take once I have enough dexterity and I don't need this. So of course, full evasion chest piece here. Life, attributes, resistances are all the best options for this. There's not a lot of options for your chest piece. For your helmet, in the future, I'm going to go for a full energy shield helmet, which I have 2 separate trade links on the trade link document. One for a full energy shield helmet. The idea there is that eventually I might take subterfuge mask, which is a super good defensive node with a full energy shield helmet. Alternatively, if I don't want to go that route, or if you don't want to go that route, I would recommend getting an evasion rating ES hybrid helmet, which I also have a trade link set up for that as well. The good modifiers here are obviously going to be max life, accuracy, high evasion, high energy shield. Critical hit chance is one of the best ones you can get for damage on your helmet for the suffix, and then resistances, rarity of items found, all the good stuff. For the rings, similar to the gloves, we're looking for flat damage, so physical, cold, lightning are priority. Beyond that, max life, accuracy, also quite nice for prefixes. For your suffixes, you're looking for like rarity, resistances, attributes. It's pretty much the only real choices I can think of off the top of my head, but of course, reference the trade filter if you want more select info. For the amulet, same thing can be said here for the chest piece. On one of these two, I'm going to recommend you get plus 30 spirit. I have a trade link for a 30 spirit amulet set up on the document. And outside of the spirit, of course, you're going to want energy shield. I mean, let's be real, there's like 100 good modifiers on amulets at this point. But to name a couple of the best ones, resistances, all ele res, attributes, all attributes, obviously the spirit, max life, maximum energy shield, percent energy shield, evasion, percent evasion, critical hit chance, critical damage bonus. I mean, there's so many good options. If you need more damage, get critical hit chance, critical damage bonus. If you need more defense, get energy shield. If you need more res, get res. You know the deal. And then finally for the shield, I know I said you don't need uniques. You don't need this shield. I don't have it set up in the trade links. I promise you I could run into a T15 map right now with no offhand, and I would be okay. And in reality, I don't even think you should get the shield, actually. Like, the number 1 Huntress players right now are not getting the Lycos Today shield anymore. They're getting bucklers. So do with that what you will. For the buckler, for the shield, obviously, if you get this shield, you don't have an option. But for the buckler, you're looking for resistance. The best stat is going to be percent increased block chance, which is actually going to be very, very nice. It's a good defensive layer, which also this shield has it as well. But you can get a much higher percent on the buckler. So yeah, block chance, resistances, max life, dexterity. It's a pretty simple item. There's not like a ton of different stats to get there. You can get maximum resistances, actually, increased maximum resistances on your buckler though, which for like deep end game would probably be the best thing. When it comes to optimizing the build, I think the order of importance for adding quality to your skill gems should be Lightning Spear first, followed by Combat Frenzy, then Stormlance, and then Herald of Thunder. Everything after that is kind of negligible, and I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just do it in whatever order you prefer. For 5 links, or 6 links, if you will, I'm going to do Stormlance first, actually. I'm going to be putting Overextend in it as my first option. I do have a couple of other ideas that I'm going to test, but Overextend is my first choice, and then I'll be 5 linking my Lightning Spear. For that, I'm going to put Perpetual Charge in it. I don't have that sitting around in my inventory right now, but I will be putting Perpetual Charge in for the 5th link. And the 5th link that I'm going to get for Infused Weapon for free at level 90, there's a couple of options here. You could put Strip Away, you could put Conduction if you feel like it's not shocking enough, you could put Reach for more area of effect, or if you feel like you just want to give it more damage, there's certainly some options for that as well. And last but not least, I'm just going to quickly go over how to actually pilot the builds. This is going to be a rotation for bosses, maps, stuff like that. I get a ton of questions about this, particularly for bosses, and it's actually surprisingly very, very simple. So for maps, of course, before you go into the map, you're going to hop on your Rhoa. Once you're in there, you're going to walk up to the first pack of mobs. You're going to press Sniper's Mark, Lightning Spear. After that, you're going to do the same thing over and over and over again until every mob in the map is dead. You're going to run around, Sniper's Mark, Lightning Spear, Sniper's Mark, Lightning Spear, and that is literally it. If you run into a rare that doesn't just like die from the massive screen-wide explosion, then you can just drop a Storm Lance or two and they'll die immediately. Outside of that, for bosses, right now, my specific rotation is pretty much to walk up to the boss as soon as they're available to be attacked. Well, if you want to be super fancy before you can attack them, you'll lay down 4 Storm Lances that don't have Frenzy charges, just regular ones. Lay all 4 of them down. After that, right before the boss comes out, you throw an Explosive Spear. That way, right when it comes out, or it's like attackable, they, take damage from all 4 Storm Lances. From that point forward, though, all you do is just spam Sniper's Mark on cooldown, and in between the Sniper's Mark presses, you're just spamming Stormlance. So it's just literally Sniper's Mark, Stormlance, Sniper's Mark, Stormlance over and over and over again. If you're still a little bit earlier in the game, like you're just getting the map, so you're in the campaign, you should pretty much just stick to the tried and true Stormlance Explosive Spear combo, though. This clears bosses throughout the entire game. I've used it my entire playthrough. It's an exceptionally good combo, and the damage just only gets much, 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 much better as you actually get some gear and all of your Ascendancy points. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I appreciate all the support. I will be streaming tomorrow. Had to do 1 day without the stream. I apologize, fellas. Other than that, if you enjoyed or you felt like this was helpful, please subscribe, share it with your friends. And other than that, take it easy, chefs. And last but not least, take it easy, chefs. As you fade away, as you fade away.